ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्ताक्ष्यो वरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ तच्छंयोरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजं शं नो अस्तु द्विपदे शं चतुष्पदे। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ।
Now, I would like to request Revered Maharaj Ji, Swami Amritarupananda Ji, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Society, Jamshedpur, to please grace the occasion through his enlightened speech. Maharaj Ji, please.
What about Sadesh Mantra?
Sadesh Mantra আছে বিনা?
Yes, Master. स्वदेश मंत्र। हे भारत, परानुवाद परानुकरण परम सतीक्षा इन दासों की दुर्दशा इस घृणित जघन्य निष्ठुरता से ही तुम बड़े बड़े अधिकार प्राप्त करोगे। क्या इसी लज्जास्पद कापुरुषता से तुम वीर भोग्या स्वाधीनता प्राप्त करोगे। हे भारत, मत भूलना कि तुम्हारी नारी जाति का आदर सीता, सावित्री,
Chandra Das is there. Just mute your audio, please. Chandra Das Ashrama.
मत भूलना कि तुम्हारा विवाह, धन और तुम्हारा जीवन इंद्रिय सुख के लिए, अपने व्यक्तिगत सुख के लिए नहीं है। मत भूलना कि तुम जन्म से ही माता के लिए बलि स्वरूप रखे गए हो। मत भूलना कि तुम्हारा समाज उस विराट महामाया की छाया मात्र है। मत भूलना कि नीच, अज्ञानी, दरिद्र, चमार और मेहतर तुम्हारा रक्त और तुम्हारे भाई हैं। हे वीर, साहस का अवलंबन करो। गर्व से बोलो कि मैं भारतवासी हूँ और प्रत्येक भारतवासी मेरा भाई है। तुम गर्व से कहो कि अज्ञानी भारतवासी, दरिद्र भारतवासी, ब्राह्मण भारतवासी, चांडाल भारतवासी सब मेरे भाई हैं। तुम भी कटिमात्र वस्त्रावृत होकर गर्व से पुकार कर कहो कि भारतवासी मेरे भाई हैं, भारतवासी मेरे प्राण हैं। भारत के सभी देवी देवता मेरे ईश्वर हैं। भारत का समाज मेरी शिशुशैया, मेरे यौवन का उपवन और मेरे वार्धक्य की वाराणसी है। भाई बोलो कि भारत की मिट्टी मेरा स्वर्ग है, भारत के कल्याण में मेरा कल्याण है, और रात दिन कहते रहो कि हे गौरीनाथ, हे जगदम्बे, मुझे मनुष्यत्व दो, माँ मेरी दुर्बलता और कापुरुषता दूर कर दो, मुझे मनुष्य बनाओ।
Now I request Revered Maharaj Ji, Swami Amritarupananda Ji, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Society, Jamshedpur, to please grace the occasion through his enlightened speech. Maharaj Ji, please.
Jananim Sarunam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayushitva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Sarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. We have assembled in this webinar for 2 days, organized by the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Society Study Circle. The theme of the webinar is Rebuilding India through Indian Culture. Many eminent monks of our order will deliver their learned speeches on this occasion. I have been asked to deliver the welcome address. I welcome all the participants in the webinar. The theme is very important. According to Swamiji, and as we all know that India had a very glorious past, and then there came a period of downfall. There are several causes. There are several causes that led to the downfall, and then Swamiji suggested the ways and means how to bring back India to its glorious state. So all these things will be discussed by our monks, by our various monks and other participants also. This seminar is particularly meant for the youth of our country. Of course, it is equally meant for us also. All of the cooperation and the participation of everybody is required for rebuilding India. And I hope that all of us will contribute to contribute to rebuilding of our country to our might. So I wish the webinar a success, and now the other programs will continue, and I conclude my welcome speech with this.
Pranams to Maharaj Ji and thank you. Now we will have our introductory speech by Sri Shivashish Chakraborty, member of RKMVS Study Circle. Sir, please.
Pranam to Pujaniya Maharaj Ji, and good morning to all participants, teachers, students and friends. As we all know that, as Maharaj Ji has just now mentioned, the importance of this webinar, that is the title of this webinar is the Rebuilding India through Indian Culture. So Indian culture has been emphasized in this webinar, particularly in this program, for a glorious and future prosperous India. Let us start with Swamiji's sayings. Regarding our culture, regarding our past, Swamiji said, look back as far as you can, drink deep of the eternal fountains that are behind, and after that, look forward, march forward, and make India greater, much higher than she ever was. So this was what Swamiji envisioned about our future India. This is the ancient land where wisdom made its home before it went to any other parts of the world. India, whose soil has been trodden by the feet of the greatest sages. Here first sprang up inquiries about nature of man and the internal world. In this land arose the doctrines of the immortality of soul. This is the land from where spirituality and philosophy have reached the world. It is the same India which has withstood the shocks of centuries of hundreds of foreign invasions. It is the same land which stands firmer than any rock in the world. With its undying vigor, indestructible life. Its life is immortal, and we are the children of such a country. Swamiji reminds us about our rich cultural heritage. 2000 years ago, India was at the pinnacle of prosperity. It was at its highest in material wealth and spiritual advancements. This land of ours was the center of learning and wisdom with great universities. We all know that about the great universities like Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, and so on. But then came a period of darkness. India was enslaved for 1,000 years, losing her spiritual vigor and strength of freedom. Today, India is at the crossroads. After 75 years of independence, overcoming many odds and successfully solving some of her major problems, the journey of the nation so far has been challenging. In this context, Swamiji's ideas to rebuild the country by strengthening the ideals proclaimed by our great ancestors is very relevant. We must remember that we belong to a culture that enabled a civilization to reach such a great height in almost all areas of human knowledge, and also established the ultimate goal of human life more than 4,000 years ago. So ever we asked, what was the reason behind such an excellence? It is in our Upanishads. It says, whatever is done with Vidya, Shraddha and Upanishad, that alone becomes supremely efficient. Vidya means knowledge. if we want to be efficient, we must have knowledge in respective fields, in all our respective fields, whatever it may be. But that is not enough. Mere knowledge of a subject does not make us efficient. So, a second value is added, and that is Shraddha, that is faith. We all know that Swamiji repeatedly reminded us about faith on one's own self. It means faith in one's own self, the conviction, that is, I can do it. And the work is meaningful to life and to the world. That Swamiji reminded us about Bahujan Sukhai, Bahujan Hitai. That means it is for the good of all, good for the world. This faith and conviction increases all work efficiency. Swami Vivekananda has said, great conviction are the mothers of great deeds. Our scriptures considers that even Vidya and Shraddha are not enough. A third value also has to be added to achieve supreme efficiency. This is Upanishad, that is deep thinking on the subject concerned, a meditative thinking rather on the subject concerned. Any work that has behind it these three values, that is Vidya, Shraddha and Upanishad, that alone becomes superior energy, that alone becomes superior from all respects. When all these values are combined, enables an individual or a nation to achieve great accomplishments. We must remember that the reason for our decline was when we deviated from the path of spiritual wisdom, which our great ancestors have established over the ages, which are the very cornerstones of our civilization. As Swamiji said, spirituality is the lifeblood of India. Our ancient education system introduced Shraddha, that is faith in oneself, and Upanishad, deep thinking on the subject, along with Vidya, that is intellectual knowledge, which was the reason for her spiritual wisdom as well as material prosperity. Today, we all know that India stands firm on a platform created on the basis of commendable achievements in the areas of economic developments and science and technology by the endeavor and talent of our own people. With a young population, India has the opportunity to realize our potential to the maximum in the years to come. India's great cultural and spiritual heritage has to be awakened. The youth of this country should know about the culture which enabled India to achieve great spiritual as well as material accomplishments. This will instill a sense of pride and confidence among the youths and also help to understand the glory of Indian culture in a better way and inculcate the spiritual values. Then only a vibrant, resurgent and glorious future India will emerge to reclaim its rightful place in the community of nations. Swamiji entrusted the youths to build a new India, more glorious than ever before. As the youths have immense courage, full of optimism, and is sensible to noble ideas and ideals, tapping the potential of goodness and creativity of the youth to serve the country will be a tribute to Swami Vivekananda, the greatest patriot India ever had. We must not forget Swamiji's words, "None can resist her anymore, never she is going to sleep anymore. No outward powers can hold her back anymore, for the infinite giant is rising to her feet." With these words, I conclude my part of this. In this program, we will try to understand all our cultural heritage, causes of India's downfall, and ways to rebuilding a new India from our learned speakers. Thank you. Next, I request Sri Binay Banerjee to present his speech on past glories of India and ignoring the past culture. So, Binay Banerjee, please. Binay Banerjee, members Ramakrishna Mission Study Circle, to present his article on past glories of India and ignoring the past culture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I make clear, am I audible?
Yes, Binay, you're audible.
Okay. My pranams to Reverend Maharaj Ji and a warm and cordial welcome to everyone present here.
Bina, excuse me, Bina.
Yes, Maharaj.
Bina, please unmute your video also so that we can see you.
So, if we talk about the ancient India, it is important to mention that in the words of Swami Vivekananda, here is the same India whose inquiries into the nature of man and into the internal world was the first. Here first arose the doctrines of immortality of the soul, the existence of a supervising God, an immanent God in nature and in man. And here is the highest ideals of religion and philosophy have attained their culminating points. This is the land from whence, like the tidal waves of spirituality and philosophy, have again and again rushed out and deluged the world. And this is the land from whence once more such tides must proceed in order to bring life and vigor into the decaying races of mankind. It is the same India which has withstood the shocks of centuries, of hundreds of foreign invasions, of hundreds of upheavals of manners and customs. It is the same land which stands firmer than any rock in the world, with its undying vigor, indestructible life. Its life is of the same nature of the soul, without beginning and without end, immortal, and we are the children of such country. So here we see that the base of excellence in the aspects of life of ancient India was the spirituality.
आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रही?
In other words of Swamiji, uh, just to segregate how the ancient Aryans differed from the ancient Greeks who started their journey in the same points. Swamiji says, two curious nations that there have been, sprung of the same race, but placed in different circumstances and environments, working put the problems of life each in its own particular way. I mean, the ancient Hindu and the ancient Greek, the Indian Aryan bounded on the north by the snow caps of the Himalayas, with fresh water rivers like rolling oceans surrounding him in the plains, with eternal forests, which to him seemed to be the end of the world, turned his vision inwards. And given the natural instinct, the superfine brain of the Aryan, with its sublime scenery surrounding him, the natural result was that he became introspective. The analysis of his own mind was the great theme of the Indo-Aryans. With the sublime, the beautiful islands of the Grecians' archipelago, nature all around him, generous yet simple, his mind naturally went outside. It wanted to analyze the external world, and as a result, we find that from India have sprang all the analytical sciences, and from the Greece all the sciences of generalizations. The Hindu mind went on its own direction and produced the most marvelous results. Even at the present day, the logical capacity of the Hindus and the tremendous power which Indian brain still possesses is beyond comparison. It is just because what Swamiji stated, that we were the first who acquired or who instilled and focused in the inner inquisitions of life to solve the problems of life through our internal nature, not through the external nature. So now I may mention one shloka which I remember here, that Kasminnu Bhagavo Vigyate Sarvamidam Vigyatam Bhavatiti, which means, what is that, O Bhagavan, which being known, all this becomes known. So we can see that how our forefathers or our ancestors deeply focused on the internal things, not on the external things. They had the idea that there is oneness through which, if we know that thing, we will know every other things of the external worlds and the internal worlds too. If we see the more detailed version of ancient Indian glories, we will see, and as stated by Swamiji, he rightly said that if any development has to be achieved in the field, in the external field, maybe it is trade and commerce, maybe it is political backgrounds, or maybe it is in the field of science and technologies, it has to go through the development of religion. And I must mention that this religion which Swamiji is talking about is not the mere religion, so-called religion which we think in today's life. It is the religion of realization. It is the religion which mainly focuses on the spirituality of India. As he said, spirituality is the lifeblood of India. Character building is not luxury, it is necessity. This quotation of Swamiji we can see very relatable in the ancient Indian education system. They focused on the character building, not in the mere science and technologies or in any other fields of architecture, political sciences, administrative sciences. They deeply focused on the character building education, and they believed and they preached also that if the character is built up in the right way, in the righteous manner, then the external things are the byproducts of it. So this character is the base of all success, which was the only focus of ancient education system. Mental concentration is a detailed version of or a part of the ancient education system, which is totally lost in today's modern education system, which is very shameful, I guess. We only focus in the bookish language, not in the internal quest. But as said by Swamiji, that the urdhva mula of the tree of the rebuilding of India has already sprung, and it will grow more and more than she ever was and reach the heights. So if we go to the detailed version or some point wise, if we mention that how the ancient education system or the different aspects of ancient culture was, then I must mention, if we go to the cultural excellence, human beings is an intellectual being who has freedom of will and action. Other living beings do not need any intellectual exhaustions. Animals do not require inputs because they float with the nature's rhythm. Whereas a human life is an attitudinal expression, the independent intellectual expression of human mind requires some guiding principles which govern this creation. They are the Vedas. Human actions are to be performed according to the guidance of Vedic precepts. The only human excellence, the human well-being, manifest as the best possible expressions. Indian culture is rooted in the Vedas. Music, literature, sculpture, dance, various branches of science, and all the Oriental knowledge had evolved from the Vedas. As a tree cannot survive without the root, so does a civilization. We therefore have to nourish the minds with the Vedic wisdom to realize our potential, spiritual as well as material. Vedas got mingled into different Indian blood for ages. Indians were cultured and refined by the Vedic learning. Thus, Vedic culture became the culture of India. Vedas are not hidden in the books or confined to bookish learning. They have become the very life, breath of Indian society. Indianness means Vedic culture. Various ethnic groups of India with varied customs, languages, and lifestyles have common Vedic background. For sages, the Vedic culture is being protected by the Indian society and Indian seers by adhering strict self-discipline. Now, if we talk about the society, how was the society of ancient India, how glorious it was, I must mention that it is the culture that convert a denizen into a citizen and a citizen into a nation. It is the individual human being that is called a denizen or a citizen or a national. A society comprises of families, hence it has to involve all aspects of individual and social life. There was the ashrama scheme in the ancient society, Vedic society. So the ashrama scheme of life designed to sublimate the basic instincts of a human being. And according to this, life of an individual was divided into 4 ashramas or stages. First, Brahmacharya Ashrama for students, Grihastha Ashrama for married state people, Vanaprastha Ashrama, state to forest recluse, and Sannyasa Ashrama, the monkhoodness. Now, if we go to the detailed points like Brahmacharya Ashrama, in the first stage of life, it is the first stage of life, usually 12 years of duration, from 7th or 8th to the 19th or 20th year. It was mainly devoted to study and discipline. The students were required to stay in Gurukul or the house of their teacher and learn the subjects, spiritual as well as material and arts. All the students lived together without the distinction of wealth and status, leading to a hard and austere life. Now, the second ashrama, the Grihastha Ashrama, after returning home, the students were expected to marry and raise a family. Marriage was considered as a samskara or a sacrament, and the wife as a life mate in righteous living. Marriage was not considered as an obstacle to spiritual evolution. If you compare the marriage of ancient India with the modern India, we will come to see the opposite side of it. Means it was the glorious thing, and today a marriage system is degraded, and this degradation is due to the narrowing of minds, due to the lack of character education. The third ashrama, the Vanaprastha ashrama. At the approach of old age, the householder was to hand over the responsibilities of the family to his children and retire to the forest along with his wife. If she was willing in this stage, he was to lead a contemplative life in spiritual pursuits. The fourth ashrama, the sannyasa ashrama. In this stage of life, the man used to spend his time in contemplation. He was to practice self-control, freedom from desires and attachment, and universal love. If we mention the status of women in the ancient culture, then we come to some eminent personalities such as Gargi, Maitri, and many other women who glorified our past and who were the pride of India. Uh, During the Vedic age, women were given the high place in a society. Women could pursue Vedic studies. The systems of education produced many women scholars. And just to mention that there was Upanayana Samskara for women too, but nowadays it is considered as a myth or something like that. But women were given the same position or equal positions, just as the men were given. Now, coming to the educational system of ancient India, the ancient educational system were the evidence from Upanishad during the period of 4000 BC to 2500 BC, recognized all the following aspects while formulating the policies guiding them. The principles of educational system were it is the manifestation of perfection already in man. It is the training by which the expression of will are brought under control and become fruitful in life. It is the life building, man making, character making, assimilation of ideas. It should pay greater attention to the development of the powers of mind than mere learning of facts. Education should teach our children self-control, the art of holding one's passion and prejudices. Accordingly, all fields of knowledge were divided into two broad sections. First one, the Paravidya, the spiritual wisdom, and second one, the Aparavidya, the secular knowledge. The secular knowledge and the spiritual development were both integral part of the education system. Gurukula system was the prevalent in the ancient India, and the teachers kept their students in their own houses or institutions established by the society, which were funded by the kings as well as the wealthy individuals. Education was free and no distinctions of social status was there. During 8th century BC, there were many centers of higher learning like Patliputra, Vidisha, Kanchipuram, where scholars from all over the country used to visit for higher studies in spiritual subjects as well as arts and sciences. During the period of 400 BC, Taksashila was the first university of the world. Universities of Nalanda 600 AD and Vikramashila 800 AD were well known for the quality of education, where students and scholars from other countries also studied. According to Huan Sang 600 to 664 AD, who studied in Nalanda, there were no instances of misconduct in the institution due to the high degree of moral discipline by the teachers and administrators. Ancient system of education in India was based on a clear vision, that is, to realize and inherit the divinity of every individual to the maximum possible extent. Learning was means to achieve the goal of human excellence. Swami Vivekananda emphasized on evolution rather than growth, and this was the core of our ancient education system. The central theme of this system was a proper training of mind, which was of primary importance. Our civilization reached its greatness because of this system of education, which enabled an individual to evolve in both intellectual as well as spiritual dimensions. For all these accounts, we find that the education system of ancient and medieval India was not only highly developed but also capable of guiding the present system. Now, coming to the science and technologies, contribution to the science of ancient India. The contribution of Vedic civilization to the ancient India in the field of science is a significant, and its contribution to spiritual wisdom. The sages of ancient India never considered religion and science are two conflicting ideas of knowledge. To them, both were equally important, one being the quest for truth within, and the other is the quest for truth outside. They were actually the two faces of the same Vidya or science. That is why the rishis of ancient India are better known as spiritual scientists. One thing which was basic to all ancient rishis regarding spiritual wisdom or scientific knowledge was always meant to be used for universal good of mankind. A brief account of various scientific developments in this country during the ancient and medieval periods may be now discussed. If we talk about the astronomical field, the contribution of ancient India in astronomy, I must mention, ancient India's contribution to the knowledge of astronomy is immense. Like, there are some points which I would like to mention. The spherical shape of Earth. According to the renowned astronomer Aryabhatta, 476 AD, Bhugola Sarvato Bhadra, the Earth is round from all sides. He also accurately calculated the diameter of the Earth. According to astronomer Aryabhatta, the Earth is round from all sides. Bhugola Sarvata Mandala Sarvata Bhadraha, Aryabhattayam. Aryabhatta also explained the reasons behind eclipse. When the moon shadows the sun, solar eclipse occurs. Gravity laws. Before Newton, laws of gravitation were known to Indians. According to Varamihira, 6th century AD, it is an experience of every oneness one that one part of the earth, the objects that were thrown up fall down. Surya Siddhanta, 12th chapter. Due to mutual attraction between planets, they are able to hold themselves firmly in space. Bhaskaracharya, 11th century AD. Many Indian texts had similar reference about gravity laws. All these facts were revealed centuries before Newton. Coming to the heliocentric theory in modern sciences also, Indian perception about the solar system is clearly stated in Vedas and other Oriental astronomical texts. Ancient Vedic knowledge is very clear in its expression about sun being the center of the solar system. Sun, with its attraction, is holding the earth and other celestial bodies. Rig Veda. All the celestial bodies, planets, are moving in an elliptical orbits. Rig Veda. Moon as a subplanet revolves around the sun. Rig Veda. Other discoveries such as measurement of the velocity of light, 7 colors of the light, sundial for measuring time, and other instruments for various astronomical observations collected from Rig Veda. If we come to the medicinal sciences, a detailed and systematic account of ancient medicine are found in Ayurveda and Atharva Veda. Some of the ancient pioneers in this field are Atriya, Agnikaya, Charaka, Dhanavantri, Shushruta, and many others. Salient features, if we mention, Shushruta performed first surgery in 500 BC. Use of anesthesia in ancient India was practiced in 927 AD, long before this modern India. Good practical knowledge of human psychology. Strict code of conduct for medical workers and Vaidyas, known as doctors in modern India. Texts on medicine and treatment, which we find reference such as Ashtanga Hridaya, which was written in 8th century, Charaka Samhita 200 AD, Shushruta Samhita 400 AD. According to the Greek traveler Megasthenes 302 to 288 BC, ancient Indian physicians and surgeons were greater experts in their field than their contemporary Greeks. Emperor Ashoka had established hospitals not only for the people but also for animals. So veterinary sciences was long practiced before this modern India. Many of ancient Indian medical treatises were translated into Arabic and their practices introduced to Europeans and Arabs. If we talk about the chemistry and metallurgy, these branches have a long history of evolution in India. Wide range of chemical processes were practiced during Indus Valley Civilization, 2500 BC. Materials like water pots, vessels, earthware, pottery, jewelry, etc., recovered from the excavation sites is proof of this. We get valuable information from the Arthashastra 300 BC and the Samhitas of Charaka 300 AD and Shushruta 500 AD regarding chemistry and metallurgy. Extraction and purification of metals like gold, silver, copper, and lead. Preparation of various types of fermented liquors. Anhydrous alcohol by distillation. Formation of sulfides. Preparation alkali carbonates and caustic alkali. Neutralization of alkali by acids. Process of calcination, distillation, sublimation, and steaming. Grouping of organic substances. Poisons of several varieties. An elaborate discussion of the chemistry digestion of food in human beings is found in Charaka Samhita, Ashtanga Hridaya Samhita, 650 AD. The process of melting, refining, and coloring glass was known as early as 6th century BC, as found at the excavations from Takshashila. During the 3rd century BC, the art of making painted glazed pottery was well developed, along with the uses of indigo, lac, turmeric, and red ochre. The treatise Rasavana, 12th century, Dhatuvada, 8th century, some chemical processes were described. Extraction of copper, purification of mercury by distillation, making of cuprous sulfide and sulfuric acid. Mining of precious metals and precious stones in ancient India have been described by Megasthenes. The archaeological excavations at East Singhbhum, Jharkhand, Agni Gundala, Andhra Pradesh, and Wayanad, Kerala, have revealed abandoned copper mines. The used metals like gold, silver, and copper, lead, tin, iron were known from the Vedic period. Some of the achievements in metallurgy are silver and gold jewelry found in Takshashila, 3rd century BC. The iron pillar at Delhi, 4th century AD. Its rustless, shining surface is a proof of metallurgical perfection. Galvanization was long discovered before the ancient India, before the modern India. The copper image of Buddha found Sultanganj, Bihar, 5th century AD, made of pure copper. Radiocarbon dating from some of the iron objects, including weapons found in different parts of the country, confirm the age of those objects from 1025 BC to 537 BC. It can therefore be concluded that a large number of chemical and metallurgical processes were well known and practiced during the ancient and medieval periods. In the field of mathematics also, the ancient Indians were not less. Mathematical knowledge that exists today is a gift from ancient India. Salient features of mathematical achievements are arithmetic, the decimal system, 9 numbers and a 0 can be combined to form infinite mathematical expressions and measurement. Yajurveda Samhita, 17th chapter. Zero concept. In the domain of mathematics, usage of negative numbers can be into existence because of invention of zero. Any number divided by zero becomes infinity. Brahma Sutra Siddhanta 620 BC AD. Pi value. Aryabhatta 5th century AD. He calculated the value of pi as 3.1416, which is accurate up to 4 decimals. Aryabhattaniyam Ganitapada, Chapter 2. The methods of finding square and cube roots of integral numbers. Brahmagupta, 7th century AD. Algebra, Bijaganita, developed in 9th century AD. Apastamba, 400 BC. Bodhayana, 600 BC. Kattayana, 400 AD, gave the solutions of the following: linear equations, quadratic equations, intermediate equations, which we call in the modern India. Calculus. Ancient Indians have a preliminary idea of this branch of mathematics. It was known as Kalana Ganana Shastra. Centuries before Newton, Aryabhatta and Bhaskaracharya used this branch of mathematics with the concept of differentiation in their astronomical calculations. Siddhanta Shiromani, 4th chapter. Geometry. The Pythagoras theorem of modern geometry had already been enunciated by Bodhayana, 600 BC. Problems on areas of quadrilateral and diagonals of cyclic quadrilateral have been successfully solved by Brahmagupta, Brahmasputa Siddhanta. Trigonometry. In ancient India, the trigonometry evolved as a part of astronomy. The function of sine and cosine were known as jya and kojya, respectively. Bhaskaracharya had postulated various trigonometric principles and equations in his book Leelavati. It is thus seen that the people of ancient and medieval India were the more or less familiar with the almost all branches of mathematical sciences. From this discussion of the cultural heritage of India, from the ancient period to the late Middle Ages, we learn about the glorious and sublime heights to which our forefathers achieved, mainly through their tapas and devoted pursuit of knowledge and culture. Our religion, culture, and society have survived the shocks of many foreign invasions because of the greatest civilization created by our ancestors. During the past 1000 years, many mistakes have been made, plunging our great country and its people into political subjugations and consequent misery and suffering. From these mistakes, our blunders, we can learn the following lessons. Lack of unity among the various kings to meet the external aggression was the chief cause of our political downfall. Neglect of masses due to caste distinctions, mentioned by Swami Vivekananda. Isolation of the people, particularly the lower classes, from mainstream education that led to their poverty and alienation from the intellectual and ruling classes. Due to lack of educations and poverty, the social bonds between the masses and ruling classes became weakened and the social structure was destroyed. Let us not forget Swami Vivekananda's word. She is awakening this motherland of ours from her deep, long sleep. No one can resist her anymore. No outward power can hold her more back. One saying of Swami Vivekananda, I must mention that the problem of life is becoming deeper and broader every day as the world moves on. The watchword and the essence have been preached in these days of yore, when the Vedantic truth was first discovered, the solidity of all life. One atom in this universe cannot move without dragging the whole world along with it. There cannot be any progress without the whole world following in the wake. And it is becoming every day dearer that the solution of any problem can never be attained on racial or national or narrower grounds. Every idea has to become broad till it covers the whole of this world. Every aspiration must go on increasing till it has engulfed the whole of humanity, nay, the whole of life within its scope. This will explain why our country for last few years has not been what she was in the past. We find that one of the causes which led to this degeneration was narrowing of our views, narrowing the scope of our actions. Now, some inspiring words which Swami Vivekananda tells us that in spite of this degeneration, India is still ready to plunge and grow higher and higher than ever she was. But out of the past is built the future, he says. Look back, therefore, as far as you can drink deep of the eternal fountains that are behind, and after that, look forward, march forward, and make India brighter, greater, much higher than she ever was. Our ancestors were great. We must first recall that. We must learn the elements of our being, that the blood that courses in our veins, we must have faith in the blood and what it did in the past. And out of that faith and consciousness of the past greatness, we must build an India yet greater than what she has been. There have been periods of decay and degeneration. I do not attach much importance to them. We all know that such periods have been necessary. A mighty tree that produces a beautiful ripe fruit, the fruit falls on the ground, it decays and rots, and out of that decay springs the root of the future tree, perhaps mightier than the first one. This period of decay through which we have passed was all the more necessary. Out of this decay, coming to Indian future, it is sprouting. Its first leaves are already out. And a mighty gigantic tree, the Urdhva Mula, is here, already beginning to appear, and it is about that I am going to speak to you. Here I rest my words. Thank you.
Thank you, Binay. We have concluded a very elaborate description about the contribution of ancient India towards every field, including science, technology, medicine, and all that. So that was a very encouraging and refreshing presentation by Binay. Our next speaker is Sri Lokakrishna Jha on narrowing of our outlooks. Let us start with Swamiji's quotations here, what Swamiji has said. One of the great causes of India's misery and downfall has been that she narrowed herself, went into her shell as the oyster does, and refused to give her jewels and her treasures to the other races of mankind, refused to give the life-giving truths to thirsting nations outside the Aryan fold. That has been the one great cause that we did not go out, that we did not compare notes with other nations. That has been the one great cause of our downfall. So, the point is narrowing of our outlook by Sri Lokakrishna Jha. Lokakrishna, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to one and all present here. Binoy has beautifully explained all the areas related to past glory of India and contribution to Indian culture.
Audio is not clear. Hello? Audio is not clear.
Yes. Am I audible, ma'am?
Your audio is not clear. Even the earlier Shivashi's audio was also not clear. Please make yourself correct.
I think that problem is with you most probably. We can hear him very, very clearly. Okay.
Yes, it is audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's clear.
Okay. May I start, sir?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. My topic is narrowing our outlook or cause of decline. First, I have to start my topic with with Swamiji's few lines like my plan is to follow the idea of the great ancient masters. I have studied their work and it has been given unto me to discover the line of action by they took. They were the great originator of society. They were the great givers of strength and of purity and of life. They did most marvelous work. We have to do most marvelous work also. Uh, Another word is said by Swami Vivekananda is expansion is life, contraction is death. Give and take is the law. And if India wants to raise herself once more, it is absolutely necessary that she bring out her treasures and throws them broadcast among the nation of the earth. And in return, be ready to receive what others have to give her. Expansion is life, contraction is death, love is life, and hatred is death. We, rec- we commenced to die the day we began to hate other races. And nothing can prevent our death unless we come back to expansion, which is life. Each person has to become aware of their own infinite possibility, and their quality or equality with everyone else on this dimension. Swami Vivekananda tells us that the great Vedantic ideal of sameness and omnipresence of the Supreme Soul is to be preached to all. The present system of education is all wrong. The mind is crammed with facts before it knows how to think. No one was ever really taught by another. Each of us has to teach himself. The external teacher offers only the suggestion which rouses the internal teacher to work to understand things. The guardian sending wards to school and colleges complain that classes are not being regularly held and teachers are more interested in tuitions than in teaching. The customers of the bank are unhappy with the service rendered by the employees, particularly of the public sector banks. The voters are critical to the politicians because of their alleged corruption and indifference to the constituents. Businessmen and professionals are accused of large scale tax. The radical leftist maintains the media, money, and mafia form a well knit nexus. This list of allegations and counter allegations may be lengthened indefinitely. The point which emerged from it is rather simple but unfortunate. Our country, like many other countries of the world, has been passing through a very difficult time due to lack of work culture. Swami Vivekananda points out that while he took seek reform, reform for him is not a process of destruction or negation of all that is from the past. Rather, he sees reform as a process of growth from where individuals or society have reached this far. He is clear that his goal is not to dictate or advise society to go one way or other. Rather, his goal is to contribute to the development of society. Swami Vivekananda recognized that Indian national life is like a wonderful and complex machine or a mighty river that is flowing in front of us. There are several factors and influencing force which impact it, making it dull at one place, time and quicker at another, giving it a life of its own. It is futile to command and control such a machine. As reformers, we can only work without seeking results. That is, feed the national life and fuel to wants and let it find its own way rather than dictate its growth to it. Swami Vivekananda faced tremendous difficulties before, during, and after his speech at Chicago in Parliament of Religion. While some of difficulties were due to fact that he was a non-Indian presenting a radically new vision of life to Western world at the height of its power. Many of the difficulties were caused by so-called reformers. In this talk, Swami Vivekananda discussed three groups of reformers: the Theosophists, Christian missionaries, and reformed societies, and sets the record straight on the role of this reformers group in hindering his progress. In all these cases, he demonstrates how these reformers help only when it serves their own interest and not when it is actually needed or goes somewhat contrary to their ideas or agenda. Swami Vivekananda announced his plan to start institution in India to train young people as preach of the truth of our scriptures. He points out that even a handful of such strong visionary, believing young people can revolutionize the world. Man, these are wanted. Everything else will be ready, but a strong, vigorous, believing young man, sincere to the backbone, are wanted. 100 such, and the world becomes revolutionized. According to Swami Vivekananda, each nation, like each individual, has one theme in this life, which is its center, the principle, note around which every other note comes to form a harmony. In one nation, political power is its vitality, artistic life in another, and so on. In India, religious life forms the center, the keynote of the whole music of national life. If any nation attempts to throw off its national vitality, the direction which has become its own through the transmission of centuries, that nation dies if it succeeds in the attempt. India was made its choice ages ago, where it has chosen to think not of matter, but of script, not of man, but of God. Swami Vivekananda says that India's very nature is intense faith in another world, intense hatred for this world, intense power of renunciation, intense faith in God, and intense faith in the immortal soul. Swami Vivekananda said, I have seen that I cannot preach even religion to Americans without showing them its practical effect on social life. I could not preach religion in England without showing the wonderful political changes the Vedanta would bring. So in India, social reform has to be preached by showing how much more spiritual a life the new system will bring, and political has to be preached by showing how much it will improve the one thing that the nation wants, the spirituality. This will explain the our country for the last few centuries has not been what she was in the past. We find that one of the causes which led to this degeneration was the narrowing of our view, narrowing our scope of our action. Swami Vivekananda says that in the Kali Yuga, sacrifice and tremendous tapasya are of no avail. Rather, one karma remains, the karma of giving. There are multiple kinds of gifts, the highest being the gift of spirituality and spiritual knowledge, and the next being the gift of secular knowledge, the gift of life, and last being the gift of food. Of these, Swami Vivekananda exhorts us to take up the energy of the first charity, the diffusion of spiritual knowledge. This diffusion of spiritual knowledge must take. I have tried to present here some of my thoughts on this subject. As I have gathered from several sources, there are many
Loco,
great
excuse
thinkers.
me,
Yes, yes,
excuse
sir.
me, Loco, your time is over.
Okay, sir.
So
I'm
you may
just
conclude
concluding,
now.
sir. Yes,
Okay, okay.
there are many great thinkers who have already written volumes over the subject on this subject, and I offer my respectful salutation to all of them. I conclude my offering my prayers to Sri Ramakrishna, the Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. May they enlighten all scientists, philosophers, and teachers in their quest of the absolute truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Loco Krishna, and that was narrowing of our outlook by Loco Krishna Jha. My children, the secret of religion lies not in theories, but in practice. To be good and to do good, that is the whole religion. Our next topic is Perversion of Religion by Mrs. Mary Ann Priya, English, Department of English teacher, People's Academy, Jamshedpur. Ma'am, please.
A very warm good morning to all the nation builders present here. I repeat nation builders because the very theme of our webinar is rebuilding India through Indian culture. So we all are here to rebuild India through its Indian culture, to do our best to regain its power, its glory. And I'm here to speak on the topic, perversion of religion. Before we get into the topic, perversion of religion, I want to explain, I just want to go through the word religion. Let me explain what actually religion is according to Swami Vivekananda. I'll share the screen with you all. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, ma'am, it's all right.
Okay. Rebuilding India through its Indian culture. And as I told you all, my topic is perversion of religion. According to Swami Vivekananda, religion means realization, nothing else. Realization. I want to emphasize on this and continue. Religion is realization. Nor talk, nor doctrine, nor theories. However beautiful they may be, it is being and becoming, not hearing or acknowledging. It is the whole soul becoming changed into what it believes. That is religion. Sorry, let me repeat this. I did not show the slide. Religion is realization, not talk, not doctrine, not theories. However beautiful they may be, whatever the lines, the talk, or the doctrine, the theories, perhaps it may attract us, it will look beautiful, but unless it is realization or it's becoming and being, when our whole soul changes, that actually is religion. I want to start my talk about religion with a small story given by Swami Vivekananda about what is religion. Swami Vivekananda, once speaking in America, told about a young man who came to a religious conference and said nothing. The young man returned time after time, ever repeating his desire, his longing to find God. After many days, the sage told him to accompany him as he went to take his morning bath, and both went in the river. The sage took hold of the young man, plunged him under the surface of the water, and held him there. The young man struggled to shake off his hold. Finally, he raised him out of the water and asked him, "My son, what did you long for most when underwater?" The young man replies, "A breath of air," gasped the youth. Thus should a disciple long after God if we would find him. If you have this longing after God, very fine. He should be found by you, said the sage. I read the story because I wanted you all to have the concept of this religion. Religion is God. It is not about the different faiths that people follow. That is, say, whatever, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, whatever. These are the different faiths people follow. But religion is something above that. I talked about the religion. Religion is realization. This is actually given by Swami Vivekananda. Now, realization of what? I want to go into this. Realization of the unchanged one. Unchanged. God is changeless. God cannot be changed. God is unalterable. There are many religions, but God is one. There are different routes to attain that goal. That the last salvation that people want. They want to mingle with God. But there are different routes that people follow. That is unchangeable, and that is the realization, that is God. Next is divinity. Divinity means something that is very holy, pure, sacred, that is good, something that builds up our character, that is full of virtues. Realization of divinity. Then realization of spirituality. Spirituality has got a lot of meanings. We may perceive it in a different way, all of us. But let me explain. Spirituality, according to me, there is someone or something greater than us. Something greater than all the human beings. We human beings in this world, we think ourselves to be the greatest. We have developed science, we have been to the Mars, we have been doing a lot of things. We ourselves think that we are God, but we are actually not God. Something that is greater than us, that is God. Spirituality is that. We are a very small creature in this universe. Spirituality also includes meditation, mindfulness, prayer, and values, especially the values. That is actually the individual expression. The next one is unselfish one. Swami Vivekananda says, selfishness is the devil incarnate in every man. Selfishness is the devil incarnate. If there is a devil inside, if you are selfish, that means there is a devil inside. If you are not selfish, that is God. So when we think only about ourselves, only I, that is devil, that is not God. When we think about others, when I changes into we, that becomes unselfish one, and that is how we can connect with God. When we realize this unselfish one, when we also realize about making the heart pure. Making the heart pure, when in the later Vedic period, this untouchability came up, people thought that just by mere touching of a so-called lower caste, people would have to cleanse themselves, perform different rituals. Otherwise, they also would be regarded as the downtrodden. So it was more of purifying a person physically than purifying the heart. If a person is dying out of hunger, out of thirst, if some food crumb, a bread crumb is put in the mouth, that is actually purity in heart. Even that person is of a lower caste. If a person of a higher caste put some food or water in the mouth, then does it lose its higher caste? Swami Vivekananda talks about that. He talks about making the heart pure instead of making the person individual physically pure. He talks about making the mind pure, making the heart pure. So all these things we have well had in our previous talks, how people were in the Vedic period. Now let me move. How
Ma'am, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you have 2 minutes more. Okay.
Okay. How
Okay.
religion lost its true meaning. How religion lost its true meaning. Actually, in Vedic age, there was only spirituality. People did not know about the caste system. There was only spirituality. But the religion lost its true meaning. The adhikari bhed develops instead of attaining the highest or almighty. Instead of looking for God, the adhikari bhed, the priests, they started saying that they have got the adhikar, they have got the right to do the rituals, to do all kinds of services, and they are the only medium to reach to God. The priests emphasized on paradhinta, that the others were just subordinate to them. They were not eligible to perform the rituals. They outcasted them. Then rituals gained importance. That is also one very, very important aspect of the downfall of India, when rituals gained importance than the true spirituality. And the division of the society, the caste system, people divided themselves into caste system, and then don't touchism, when they increased, the people, when they got divided, the downfall of India was sure to happen. Coming to my topic, then perversion of religion. The action, perversion means the action of changing religion from right to wrong. When something right changes into wrong, that is perversion. The deterioration of religion happened due to the caste system, when all the girls were not allowed to take education. About 50%, the girl child, the women actually are the 50% of the whole population. They were debarred of education system. So from right to wrong, from good to bad, whatever was good was changed into bad. The simple thing of attaining God was made into a complicated ritual side, and so many rules and regulations were introduced. People could not understand that. And then freedom of following whatever people wanted to follow to attain God into slavery. That actually is perversion of religion. Swami Vivekananda says, according to him, in the book, Swami Vivekananda on India and her problems, he says that, it's written that people have been discussing whether to take food with the right hand or left, whether to take water from the right hand side or from the left. Such a country does not going, if such a country does not go to do it, then what other will? So let me conclude my speech here by the way of life how we should be having to the Upanishad, that is ahimsa, satya, aste, brahmacharya, sangra, sharir, shram, aswad, nirbhay, sarva dharma and asprishata. Ahimsa means non-violence. We have to follow non-violence way. Satya, in order to lead a proper life, we have to seek the truth. Aste, aste means wrong. Whatever asatya is there, avoid that. Brahmacharya, brahmacharya means do something that attains to God, that leads to God. Asangra, do not to be selfless, not to be selfish. Do not collect and gather something for our future use. Instead, leave it for the others. Sharishram, physical activity. Aswad, aswad means something that does not taste good. Something that tastes good attracts us if we like to eat that all the time. Something that is attraction, that is actually aswad. Aswad means if we avoid all those things, if we lead a simple life, that is better for us. Nirbhay, lead a life that is not frightening for us. Sarva dharma, allow everybody to live together. And asprishata, that is the most important thing, that is don't touch me or don't touchism, the untouchability system. Thank you very much. I hope the perversion of religion, what I wanted to express is explained. That is the action from good to bad. The religion lost its true sense, true meaning in the later Vedic period. That is perversion of religion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful speech. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
So let's have some lighter moment now. Sri Binay Banerjee, member RKMVS Study Circle, will present devotional song. So Binay Banerjee, please.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर नीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर नीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् वन्दे वेदतनु मोजितगर्हित काञ्चन कामिनि वन्धम् वन्दे वेदतनु मोजितगर्हित काञ्चन कामिनि वन्धम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर मीष्टममर नरवन्दम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमहो कटितटकौपीनवन्दम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमहो कटितटकौपीनवन्तम् अभिरभिरुङ्करनादितदीन्मुख प्रचण्डताण्डवनृत्यम् अभिरभिरुङ्करनादितदीन्मुख प्रचण्डताण्डवनृत्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर मीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् भुक्ति मुक्ति कृपा कटाक्ष प्रेक्षण मघदल विदलन दक्षम् भुक्ति मुक्ति कृपा कटाक्ष प्रेक्षण मघदल विदलन दक्षम् बालचन्द्रधरमिन्दुवन्दिमिह नौमि गुरु विवेकानन्दम् बालचन्द्रधरमिन्दुवन्दमिह नौमि गुरु विवेकानन्दम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर मीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर मीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर मीष्टममर नरवन्द्यम्.
So it's all about glories of India that we are all discussing today. Now our next topic is glories of India, and we are privileged that our most revered speaker, Swami Vivekananda ji, monk in charge, Yuva Vibhag, the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Gold Park is among us. It's our heartiest request to revered Maharaj ji to please kindly share your views. Maharaj ji, please.
Thank you, Brahmachari Shanat Kumar Maharaj. I chant Swamiji's mantra first. Om Namah Sri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukha Sarupaya Swami Neta Paharne. Yes, the mantra I chanted, hope, is known to you all. Salutations to the king of sannyasis and the controller of passions, Swami Vivekananda, who is the personified form of existence, knowledge and bliss absolute. Good morning, dear sisters and brothers of Study Circle, Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Society, Jamshedpur. This morning I am with you for a very short time with the topic, Glory of India. India is our motherland. It has another name called Bharata or Bharatavarsha. The name Bharata has a significance. Bha means in Sanskrit light effulgent. Bha. Vibhashita or Udbhashita Jyoti. Light effulgent. Rata means engaged in. That means the country which is engaged in the spiritual practice in search of spiritual life, the eternal life. India is not simply a geographical land, an area, but a place of a great ideal. People of the whole world understand this. India is a place of a great ideal. Ancient India developed a culture based on spirituality, Adhyatmikata, the highest goal of which practice helped Indians to realize the highest truth, the Supreme Self. To realize this truth means discover this truth. It is already there. They are called rishis or sattadrashta or mantradrashta. Rishis. The highest goal of which practice, that practice helped Indians to realize that highest, the Supreme Self. The Supreme, that is the Supreme goal, the goal of life. The scriptural term of which is called Brahma Vidya, the wisdom, in the real sense, not worldly, but in the spiritual sense, it is the wisdom. The culture was Vedic culture, which developed in the Indus Valley. The literature based on that culture is called Vedic Literature, all in Sanskrit. And that language also called Devo Bhasha, language of gods. It is most expanding ideas are there in Sanskrit language. There is a saying, Bharat Varsasya or Bharatasya Pratishtve Dve Sanskritam Sanskriti Tatha. Once India's credit is, first India's culture is based on Sanskrit language and Sanskrit literature. That is the greatness of India. The literature based on that culture is called Vedic literature. What that teaches? The Vedas proclaim a sublime ideal which can be practiced by all. Before my talk, some man was speaking to you, I think, on this subject, which can be practiced by all, not only for Indians. That universal ideal proclaimed, the principle which can be put into practice by all, as a whole for the humanity. That's something great ideal. That sublime ideal can help man to realize the Supreme Self. Essentially, man is divine. In the language of Swami Vivekananda, its soul is potentially divine. And the goal of human life is to manifest that divinity. Divinity within. It will not be introduced by somewhere, someone else. It will not come from outside, but it is already within. Man is essentially divine. That is the ideal that Vedas proclaim. So human life, the goal of human life is also to manifest that divinity. This sublime ideal can bring the highest good for mankind, not only for particular country, region, not like that. Hundreds of centuries, our motherland, our great motherland, Mother India, is preaching this universal ideal to the whole world. Other than this, there are different philosophies discovered by the rishis. Why I use the word discovered? These are not intellectual something created intellectually, but discovered. They were already there, only discovered by the seers of truth, who are called in scriptural term rishi or sattadrashta or mantradrashta. These different philosophies discovered by rishis, seers of truth, mantradrashta, are called darshan. Darshan means what can be seen, what is seen. Not intellectual something, but can be realized, not through indriyas, but beyond indriyas. That truth can be realized by man. In the real sense, India preaches universal brotherhood. Whatever India proclaimed were never something destructive. That is the greatness of India. Never destructive, but always constructive and innovative. Swami Vivekananda used to worship his motherland, considering as India as his chosen deity, Aradhya Devata. Let us see what an American eminent writer, Mark Twain, says about India. And we have to remember, when Mark Twain says this, that time rarely someone used to visit India. From Europe, many used to come to India, but not Americans. Even Americans did not know about India. But Mark Twain says about India with great respect. He was a humorist. And so, his presentation also something great. What exactly he says, I quote. An American writer, eminent writer, Mark Twain, even out of respect, he visited India and visited many places of India. What he says, India is the cradle of human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most instructive materials in the history are treasured up in India only. American, he says about India. We can present before you many such worthy opinions of hundreds of eminent personalities of the world. But my time is short. In future, I will meet you again. I'm so happy to see youngsters here. So many your brothers and sisters present here. And many eminent speakers are also there. Brahmachari Shanakumar Maharaj has arranged this. I must request you, my dear sisters and brothers, as listeners here, you must go through Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda's literature is most inspiring, and you get inspired. Just go through and assimilate his most thought-provoking ideas, and also try to do something good for your great motherland, for Swamiji's great Punya Bhumi. Swamiji used to mention India as Punya Bhumi. Only India can be named as Punya Bhumi in the world. That is the only country which can be named that way. Before I conclude, I quote Swamiji's one message on India, and then from Bhagavatam, a very famous verse which says about India. What Swamiji says, you will find in Complete Verse, Volume 4, page 348. Shall India die? Then from the world, all spirituality will be extinct. All moral perfection will be extinct. All sweet soul sympathy or religion will be extinct. All identity will be extinct. And in its place will reign the duality of lust and luxury, as the male and female deities with money as its priest. And the human soul is sacrificed. Such a thing can never be when India is there. Another one quote of Swami Vivekananda, and then I will conclude with Bhagavad Sloka Bhagavad. If there is any land on the earth that can be claimed to be the blessed Punya Bhumi, to be the land to which all souls on the earth must come to account for karma, the land of which every soul that is wending its way Godward must come to attain its last home, the land where humanity has attained the highest towards the towards gentleness, towards generosity, towards purity, towards calmness, above all, the land of introspection and the spirituality. It is India. And I conclude with a great verse of Bhagavatam. What it says, we just listen to, my dear sisters and brothers. The verse of Bhagavatam is, Atopi deva paichanti janma bharata bhutale sanchatum sumaha punyam akshayam amalam shuham. That says, Atopi deva chanti. Even gods wish to take birth in India in exchange of all their punya karma, holy actions. Even gods wish to have birth in India. Why? How? Even in exchange of all their punya karmas or all their good actions. And you know how many gods, how many avatars incarnated here. So that is the great India. This short speech, we can't say the greatness of India. We can't exhaust saying all those things. India is called miniature, world miniature. What God is there in the world? Everything is there in our country, our great motherland. Very recently, you know, Indian goddess of Rig Veda Durga, who is worshipped in India and abroad. That Durga Puja celebration has been announced as heritage celebration by UNESCO. That's also something great, is it not? We are proud to be Indians. And we offer our salutations to Mother India, Vande Mataram. Thank you all for patient hearing. Thank you, sisters and brothers of Study Circle. Namaskar.
Thank you, Maharajji, and respectful pranam once again for highlighting the causes, the glories, and everything that you shared with us. Thank you once again, pranam, respectful pranam once again, Maharajji.
Thank you.
Our next pranam, Maharajji. Our next program, our next topic is causes of India's downfall, and we have in our midst most revered Swami Tattvavitananda Ji Maharaj, monk in charge, Museum and Art Gallery, the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Gold Park, Kolkata. Revered Maharajji, please.
Om Paradatte Shadalino Ramakrishna Shamagaya Yo Dharmastapanarata Vire Shantanamahu. My respectful pranams to all the revered monks and dignitaries, those are speaker on this day's seminar organized by Ramakrishna Mission Jamshedpur, and love and best wishes to all those who are having the listeners online, and Brahmachari Shailas Chaitanya also. Today's discussion over the subject, causes of decline of India. May I ask one thing, is there only the negativity Why did Swamiji says like that? In Upanishads, there was asked by the disciple, Kasminnu bhavo vikyate sarvavidam vigyatam bhavate iti. Is there anything by knowing can we know everything in this world? The teacher, the guru replied, there is para and apara vidya. And guru, the teacher, he explained, firstly, apara vidya. What is that? In this world, they are having so many things. By knowing them, you can know the individual. But if you want to know the one or oneness, then you have to know the Brahman. That is Paravidya. So here in Swamiji, in this discussion, Swamiji told what is the cause behind of decline of India. I may show some slides so that you can have the glimpse of that matter. Oh, sorry. Hope these slides are visible now. Firstly, I must say, as Swamiji told, that ignoring the past. Just few minutes back, Revered Maharaj was saying that we are the son of the Rishi. We have forgotten our legacy. We had a rich culture, but we have forgotten that we are the blessed son of that rishis. And as Swamiji told, that we are crying, that we are not knowing anything. But we have forgotten that our foremost fathers, they were the knower of Brahman. As Swamiji told, in the Yuga of Sutta, there were almost everyone were the rishis. They used to know the Brahman. So, how we can be a shepherd being a son of lion? Is it not? Is it possible? No, we have to know that we are the blessed child of that rishis, of those rishis. Because in that previous age, they were established in Satta, law, faith, and self-confidence. We have forgotten that possibilities behind us. So we have to recover. So we need always think about that we are not the mere child, mere human being. Then only we can recover ourselves. So it is the first cause, Swamiji told, first and foremost cause, that ignoring the past. And next, Swamiji told, narrowing our outlook. Swamiji told Indian misery and downfall has been that she narrowed herself. How did he? how did she narrowed? Went into the sail as the oyster does, refused to give her jewels and her treasuries to the other races of mankind. What was the jewels? What was the jewel? The oyster. Why did oyster does that? Because the Indians, they neglected other races. And simultaneously they preserved themselves. They wanted to separate from the other nations, but not giving anything. As Swamiji told, Indian causes of degeneration was the building of oil custom, whose foundation was hatred of others. So this is another point Swamiji told. The next slide. The next point he discussed preservation of religion. What? There is a danger of our religion getting into the kitchen. Swamiji told, we were thinking about to take the decision whether shall we hold the glass in the right hand or left hand. Swamiji told that there is a danger of religion getting into the kitchen. We are neither Vedantist, we are neither the Pauranic or Tantric. We don't touch it. We are neglecting the others. Swamiji told, when the mlecho has entered in our religion, this Swamiji quoted this word, mlecho, and we are neglecting the others and thinking always that we are the superior one. That is the more foremost cause of our decline. So we have to get rid of from that point. And Swamiji told, we are the best child of that Ishvara, Brahma. So how we can separate from others? Religion, as said by Swamiji, that realization. So, religion does not mean that preserving the customs, what we are doing, what should I do. It is the just mere ritual or we should do in everyday life, but it is not the actual religion. It may be the part of the religion, but it is not the religion or dharma. So we have to come out from there. And next, Trini of over the masses. Swamiji told, I consider that the great national sin is the neglect of the masses, and that is one of the causes of our downfall. No amount of politics would be of any evil until the masses in India are once more well educated. We have built so many temples, but in return they get kicks who has built the temple. Swamiji in Swadesh Mantra, as he told, all the ignorant, all the downtrodden, they are the God. I think it is the message of Swami Vivekananda's, the great message of Swami Vivekananda, and by which we can recognize the Swami Vivekananda what actually wants to, how he used to love Indians. So, and somewhere else, Swamiji told, the masses is the power. He needs that human, that kind of man, who's having the faith on himself. I will discuss about that in next slides or next paras. Next point is coming, the neglect of women. Earlier in Swamiji told, in the Vedic Yuga, so many women were there who are knower of Brahman. But we have neglected in last few years, few hundred years, by which the India got the decline. As Manu says, the gods are pleased where the women are held in esteem. In the Chondi also, we had so many evidence how Devi is remarking that she is all pervading, all powerful, and everywhere, in every being. In Gita also says, even the woman can have the realization if she has faith on God. Thou art the woman, thou art the man, thou art the boy, girls as well. So, this is the one and most important point, is that neglect of women. Nowadays, so many scripture is saying and crying, who has made the bewitching woman? But Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji and Holy Mother's teaching are having in different. Sri Ramakrishna told, they are the Bhagavati, they are the part of the all-pervading powerful Shakti. Swamiji also had that same respect. So, in India, if we really want to be a nation and be proud for that, we have to avoid this point, neglect of women. We should have the respect and love for them. Then we only can get rid of. As well, Swamiji told some symptoms and care, how we can get it. Swamiji told culture, heresy, and fanaticism. We are having the great culture, but sometimes by some priest or some pandit, for their cause, they have changed the rules or smriti. So we have to come out. We have to come out from that fanaticism. That only is the says by Swamiji. On the other hand, there is the man educated but sort of monomaniac who runs to the other extreme and want to explain the woman of this and that. He has philosophical and metaphysical, and Lord knows what other empirical and explanation for every superstition that belongs to the peculiar races, or his peculiar gods, or his peculiar village. Every little village superstition is to him a man-made of the Vedas and open the carrying out of it, according to him, depends on national life. You must beware of this. We have to come out from that fanaticism. And next point, Swamiji told physical weakness. We are weak. We are indulged in tamo guna. We have to come out. And Swamiji told that I suggest the young boys to play the football rather than reading the Gita. What does it mean? Why did Swamiji say it like that? Because we need the physical power. We are weak. And Swamiji told, if we have that power, we have that physical strain, then we can understand the Gita, the meaning, inner feeling of that Gita or the other scriptures. So firstly, we need the physical, we have to get rid of that physical weakness. Swamiji told, I want is masculine of iron and nerves of steel, inside which dwells a mind of same material as that of which thunderbolts is made. Strain, manhood, Khatra Bija and Brahma Teja. In next point, Swamiji says, lack of faith in ourselves. We have lost our faith. Just few minutes back I told that we are being a son of Rishi, we have forgotten. And we are trying. We need that faith that we can do anything and everything, as Swamiji told. If you think, then you can do. We want Shraddha, as Swamiji told. Shraddha in ourselves. Swamiji is to say that we need the Shraddha as Nachiketa had. So, by that power, by that Shraddha, as he knows that Brahman, the inner feeling, inner knowledge, inner jnana, who is he? That Shraddha is required for ourselves also. The lack of faith is the one most causes of our decline. Lack of self-help. I used to say our students that always, every day, we must sit for ourselves and ask what we want. We always talk with our others in phone or whatever, but we never talked with ourselves. We have to talk about ourselves, that what I am doing, what I should do, that it is most require the analysis of ourselves, our mind. It is the great help, I think so. Lack of obedience. Obedience, first we have to listen our superior. We have to obey. Swamiji told, no centralization is possible unless there is obedience to superior. No great work can be done without this centralization of individual forces. First, we have to obey. If there is any wrong, then must we argue. Swami told, if superior or elders asked to catch hold of the crocodile, you have to go for that. Then you may ask. In the next point, Swami told laziness. We are mostly aware of that. What we are thinking, every day we are doing some promises, and every day we are declining. Laziness is another point. Mere talk is not required. Swamiji told, there is too much talk that we are great, but it is a nonsense. So, speaking and not doing has become a habit with us. We have to come out from there. What kind of behavior or awareness required? That we must always be ready for that. What we are saying and what we are observing must be done that way. And another point is selfishness and jealousy. We know verily that how we are selfish, we ever see who are the neighbor around us. Is there any problem or not? We are always happy with ourselves. We don't want to know even what others are not. Or so we are intentionally selfish, not three of us can come together without hatching each other. So this is another point of our Indian decline. The lack of love and organizing capacity. It is another point that we don't have such love. Love means without any cause, without any desire. Is there really love for others? We have to ask. We can feel from our heart. Is there any feelings for our neighbors? We have to ask. And Swamiji told, love can do everything. Love is the power. By love, we can conquer everything. So, lack of love and organizing capacity is another point of Indian decline. We have to think about that we are the human and we are the child of that Brahman, that Ishvara, same child of that Ishvara, by which only we can have the love for others. Swamiji told, behind that only we need the true education. Already we have discussed the Shraddha and concentration, self-introspection. My time is going to be over. Swamiji asked that only the true education help us to get rid of this type of decline. That education needs which help us to stand on our own feet and which help us to believe our own self. Swamiji told, these are wanted. Everything else will be ready but strong, vigorous, believing young men, sincere to the backbone, are wanted. 100 such, and that the world become revolutionized. These are the essential, Swamiji told. And in next point, Swamiji told, this is also essential, the renunciation. Without renunciation, none can pour out this whole heart in work for others. So, Swamiji has pointed so many points how India getting declined day by day, and simultaneously Swamiji told how we can get rid of that. And this is the, I think, this is the last point, lack of originality. We have to be individual, but not denying the past. That is the first point I discussed already. So, as Swamiji told, our history says that we were raised by our culture and customs, and India will earlier used to show the light to the other races, and again it may happen if the youth of India, as Swamiji's view were, arise again, we will see that light and India will conquer the whole world. With these few words, I conclude my subject. Thank you all. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Maharaji. Just now we have finished the wonderful session by you. And now one question is there, Swamiji, for you.
Yeah.
Just I am reading out the question.
Yeah.
Question from Abhishek Mishra. Due to wrong understanding of the term religion among majority of present-day youths, they have lost trust in our ancient system and culture, and they always conceive it in bad light. How to deal with it? That's the question, Maharaji.
Nowadays, religion means, as Swamiji told, religion is the realization, but nowadays we are far away from this subject, religion. Now it became only the practices. Practices is the path. It is not that religion actually. So, by knowing this, we have to trace on over the, not on the path, but on the realization. It is very much difficult to make understand to the others that actual religions means the realization. There is not having any problem with the Jesus or Muhammad or Chaitanya or the other rishis, because they are knower of that same Brahman. But the problem is who are the following that path. They are arguing over the path, because path may be different. As Thakur told, there may have so many paths to go another point, but the place is the same, the Brahma is the same. So it will happen in time, but we have to consider that path is not the religion. The religion actually says, as by Swamiji or Sri Ramakrishna, that we have to know the Brahman. That is the dharma, that is the religion actually. And then how may it happen? How we can do that? That effort, so many times that rishis or avatars, they came to show us that path. So gradually it will happen, and we will learn that path is not the religion, but realization or knowing yourself, knowing who am I, is the religion. I think you have understand. And any questions are there?
Thank you, Maharaji, for that wonderful answer of the question. So far, only one question we have received. So there is. Let me check the box, please.
If anybody have any question, may ask in the chat box. So feel free to ask the question if you have. So far, we have discussed what we have discussed from the morning. Revered Maharaj is there. So feel free to ask whatever we have heard. Please share your question in the chat box. Anyone else who have question? Maharaj, only one question which you have replied already so far, and no more question yet.
Anyone may ask also directly.
Yes. But for behalf of all, I have a question.
Okay.
So we are talking about Indian culture and heritage. Then what is the method to inculcate among the youth this cultural heritage of India? What would be the method by which we can instill the our elevating idea of our scriptures? So what would be the way so that we can implement it?
So far in my mind is this. We can do it various way. Maybe we can make some books or booklet in which the short stories or their teachings can be circulate to them, or another by calling them, we can discuss over that, and then our some figure, right, who has the evidence or who is the senior monks of our, they can discuss over the matter to the youth also, by which by their life, by their lifestyle, they can know. Another thing, Swamiji used to say that we need the brahmacharya. We need the brahmacharya. That practices is required. Nowadays we are so much entangled by the Maya and the cosmetic world. So we have to come out from there. So it is not the possible in one day that I can give up the all these matter what the existing world. But gradually we have to make them understand that it is not the real what you are running after, that it is for the few days we will have that joy, but ultimately we will have the pain. So if you, by knowing them, by knowing our ancient culture, what is the based on that Sattva, Nigraha, Brahmacharya, and then love, respect on himself. So by knowing, by saying or giving that teachings, gradually it can reverse, and otherwise it is very much difficult. Nowadays we are having so many classes every day we are taking, but the same problem is that we are so much fickle mind, and then we are very much entangled by the outer world, and we want to get result every day by our hand. So we are running after that also. We want to get result every day. I think in the practices of the Brahmacharya or practices of the other Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, all these are there. It is not the possible that getting the result in every day, but the result will come ultimately. We have to convince that. Another thing that I think we have to interact with them. What we are doing nowadays, I think that is the good of our electronics media. It's by webinar, all these things we are doing. We have to interact our students and have to ask what is the problem actually. Actually, we are far from the youths. We have to calm them, or if they not calm, then we have to go to them. Gradually, we have to make understand that our past, our culture was reached. We are going away, far away from that. And then another thing, we are very much desirable. And I think we have to convince that what is the difference between need and wants. And then what we need, we are wants for more than that. So gradually we have to trap that we must come out from that. I think so. All these are there, and then you may synchronize all these things gradually. Hope you have understood.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, sir.
Good, Maharaj.
Is there any question or more? May I leave?
Yes, Maharaj. No more question.
Maharaj, thank you for your question and answer session, and prior to that, beautiful lecture, beautiful speech. So, pranam, respectful pranam once again. Revered Maharajji, respectful pranam once again. So, we can conclude this session, Maharajji, with your permission.
Jai Thakur, Jai Maharaj.
Pranam, Maharajji, pranam.
Afternoon session.
To all our participants, dear participants, this was the conclusion of our first session, and we have a second session, that is evening session, that will start from 3:20 p.m. onwards. And our first speech is Monopoly of Education by Sri Chandradeep Pandeyji of Jamshedpur. So please welcome. You are all welcome to our second session, that is from 3:20 p.m. onwards. And with this, another important message is that from 4:10 p.m. on to 4:40 p.m. we have lessons from Indian history. The speaker will be Swami Atmashraddhanandaji Maharaj, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. So Maharaj will grace the occasion from 4:10 p.m. onwards. So these are some of the highlights of our second session, this evening session. So with that, we are concluding our first session and hope to see you again in the second session, evening session. Thanks. Thanks, Tobias.